Right then, so week number 5. What do we need to focus on now? The fun bit, okay, the exercise. Now, so today what we're going to be going through really is strength versus cardio, kind of what you should be doing, how much of what, how to kind of like choose the exercise track that you want to do based on kind of like what you've got access to, just to understand progressive overload a little bit, to get the most from your sessions, and then just going through the tasks for this week. So, what is the best strength versus cardio? Now, I don't want to just read off this, but what we need to try and understand is that there's not really one which is better than the other. It's more about understanding on the benefits of both. Now, you've probably kind of heard that as we get a little bit older, ladies in particular, strength training is particularly important, purely because you're more at risk of something called sarcopenia, which is this down here. And this is just basically a loss of muscle mass. And a drop in muscle mass impacts your RMR, so you burn less calories, you're more at risk of falling. Okay, there's literally less cushioning, and also it decreases the amount of carbohydrates you can store. Whereas where we do more strength training, it increases your RMR, so you can eat more. It increases your carb storage, you can eat more carbohydrates, and it also kind of offsets things like, say, bone density, and just you can move better. So it's really, really important. Now, the one thing I would say though is like people really push it at for women over 40. However, by itself, it's not going to be as effective at something like cardio when it comes to, say, losing fat, in terms of visceral fat, should we say. So the benefits of cardio really is it's going to be very effective for heart health, for reducing visceral fat, and again, we know the risk of kind of increase of visceral fat during menopause, which is, I'm a big believer of cardio. However, what we do need to understand though is that if we do too much cardio, it negates your ability to build muscle, so it shouldn't be the pure focus. Likewise, it can actually make you more hungry, and sometimes we know that doing too much cardio can just make it harder to build muscle. So this is the reason we don't just want to do cardio. What I probably would say that if you have high visceral fat, we want to lean into cardio a bit more, whereas if you've got low muscle mass, you want to lean more into strength. However, it's getting that kind of balance of both, which is going to be very effective. And when we come in for body composition tests, when having a chat with me, looking at your RMR, that's when we can really kind of see what is the best strategy for you. So in terms of, cut through a lot quite quickly. So when it comes to the strength training, the 3 different tracks that we've got, so you can kind of access this through Trainerize, is you've got the at home, you've got the machines, or you've got the free weights. So what you can do is you'll just see some of the workouts. Let me just bear with me. So this is only for the first month. Now you will be getting access to more. So what you'll see is that you've got kind of the dumbbell track, you've got the gym track, and you've also got at home like body weight and bands. So all of these exercises, they've always got the push, the pull, the hip hinge, and the squat. And the idea with these is that we're always looking to make it harder each time. So whichever kind of track that you choose, the idea is that every set really you should be pushing till failure, at least one set. And if you can do the allotted reps, if you can do 15 reps, for example, on these, we need to start increasing the weight. And it's just that continuous process of always trying to push that a little bit further. So all that you need to do through here, which is press the plus yellow icon, choose your workout, and choose the workout you'd like to do. Now, there's 2 dumbbell tracks, there's 2 gym tracks, there's 2 bodyweight tracks. You can just repeat one of them if you're going to train 3 times per week, or you can just do one each for the twice per week. So these just give you some examples of what you would do. Again, kind of the point of what we're looking to do is have those kind of 4 key movement patterns. So the squat pattern, you'll see if you're at home, you can do bodyweight squats, the gym leg press. If you're in the gym, if you're in the studio, we can do barbell squats. You've got a push, okay, so push-ups, dumbbell press. You've got a pull, so pulling you towards you. Some sort of kind of hip hinge, which is going to work the backside and the back, and that's just going to give everything that you really need. So if we can do all those movement patterns, whether you're at the home, whether you're at the gym, it doesn't really matter. The point is we go to failure, you force yourself to go to failure, and that's how you're going to see those changes. And this is just the idea of like progressive overload, where if we really keep things simple, do the exercise with good form, and then next week make it a bit harder. So that could be different ways that you can do that. Adding reps. So if you did 8 reps last week, do 10 this week. If you did, say, 10 kilos last week, do 12 and a half. Again, you could slow down slightly to increase time and attention, but just really make sure that you do things properly, and every single week try and do a little bit more. And if we do that, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get more toned, and you're going to get all those benefits of strength training. Right. Okay. So, I've gone through this already as well, but just open, you can see the workouts in Trainerize, plus yellow icon. Choose the workout you want to do. After the first initial 8 weeks, you will be getting more if you want to do the group program. But just start it, track your weight, and see how you get on. Now, in terms of kind of the actual how much you should be doing, ideally we want to be working 3 per week, because with that you're going to be hitting muscle groups 3 times per week. That's getting a stimulus consistently, and that's just going to make it a lot easier for you to help to build muscle. 2 per week. The way that we program is that because we do full body sessions, we're still getting that kind of 8 to 10 sets per muscle group per week, which is what we know will help build and keep muscle mass. So that's usually kind of a good starting point for most people. And I'll come on to kind of the cardio in a moment. Whereas rest days as well, it's just that you have to have them. So what we want to have is the stimulus, which is the exercise, and then the adaptation comes from the recovery, which is the rest days as well. Now, what you'll probably see as well is that something called DOMS, or delayed onset of muscular soreness, will happen. Okay, you're going to get sore, and this is the reason sometimes it started to just better to start just pulling back a little bit to begin with. When you get fairly competent or comfortable, when you're not really getting the aches and pains, it probably signifies that you can push a little bit further. So really just think, hit the sessions, do the weights, make sure that you're not dying, and if that's the case, you can continue to improve. So where does actually cardio fit in? So we know that combining resistance training with cardio is going to be the most beneficial. Now, you probably heard that cardio is really bad, it improves, it may give you belly fat. It's just complete nonsense. It's just, the literature is very clear on aerobic exercise and how it's very effective for getting rid of visceral fat for menopausal women. And I'll happily share these studies with you. I'm going to put those in the group because I think it's so important to know. However, what we do know is that HIIT training, or high intensity interval training, is more effective for women pre-menopause than post-menopause. And there can be that cascade effects of cortisol, or a stress hormone, but doing exercise actually improves your ability to deal with cortisol. Don't see cortisol always a bad thing. It's when it's chronic, that's when it can become a bit annoying. Now, when we talk about cardio, we're not talking about running per se. We're just talking about something which is going to get you to a moderate level of, say, breathlessness, shall we say. So we get with the heart rate up to about 70 to 80% of its max. And if you do that, we know that you're going to get fitter. And you could use brisk walking for this, for your steps, or you could do something like cycling. You could do very low intensity running, but the point is that we're trying to get around about 150 minutes per week. And according to the ACSM guidelines that came out, they showed that this was the amount that you would need, one, to improve fitness, but also to help with kind of fat loss as well. So for the actual kind of framework, what we're looking at is that the framework needs to start with the resistance training, but that needs to be key with the steps. Those together will mostly be enough. However, if you have high visceral fat, if you really want to kind of move the needle, get even better results, we want to try and get 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. So that's 5 lots of 30 minutes. Or if you really want to see some significant fat loss, you can take up this to 240 minutes. Now, we don't want something that you're going to just do for a few weeks and never do it again. We're looking to build something that you can do long term, which is probably isn't a good idea just to start smashing out loads of cardio on the treadmill if it's not something that you want to do long term. Then finally, with HIIT training, or high intensity interval training, this is where you go very hard for, say, a minute, very easy for a minute. It could be 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. This is very effective for heart health, okay, because it pushes the intensity up. However, as we get a bit older, it makes it a bit harder to recover from, which is the reason why we only recommend doing HIIT training once or twice per week. And the idea is to get around 12 to 20 minutes of hard work within a session. So the way that would work, if you did 2 minutes of an interval with, say, a 1 minute recovery, if you did 6 of those intervals, that would be your 12 minutes. You might not get this 12 minutes straight away. However, that's really the goal. So if you come to my kind of engine classes, this is what we try and do. So there you have it. So what we need to do this week is going to be choosing your training track, whether that's the gym, whether that's free weights and bands, whether that's dumbbells. Again, if you had any questions, just pop them in the group. If you're interested in the one-to-one coaching, we can kind of program for you. Let us know. Try and get at least 2 this week, ideally 3. And if you want to start adding in the cardio framework as well, trying to get 150 minutes, see that as a bit of a bonus. So there you have it. Crack on. Things should start to come together. Let's see how we get on. Any questions as ever, just let me know.